Roger Walder's here. Roger, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike.
Welcome to Morning Glory. I mean, for goodness sake, Joe Biden, I don't think I've seen him look quite so helpless, hopeless, hapless, any other word that starts with H and ends with S. I mean, it's just incredible.
I had a WhatsApp, a tweet from one of my followers on the way over here saying, Dr. Roger, can you please get to the bottom and find out how his family could allow him to stand up there and do this? Well, if your family's Hunter Biden, I guess.
Well, I mean, we've got a clip of Jill Biden, actually, which we'll play not first, but where she's basically telling him he did a great job. And so, presumably, if you're Joe Biden and that's what you're being told, you don't know that you're not doing a great job.
You've got to admire his grit, Mike. I mean, you know, to stand up there.
I'm not sure he even knows if he's doing it, though.
I think he probably knows that he's doing it, and there were some moments he did. I think we have to admit he did pick up a lot of strength towards the latter part.
I haven't watched the whole thing.
Okay, well, I sat up and watched it, and I watched the. I had two observations about it, if I may. The first one was that I watched it, and then I watched the commentary afterwards. And the left-wing CNN was really very loaded towards Biden and anti-Trump. But even that panel of some of his most ardent supporters after the debate, they were debating what a train wreck it was. Some of them were even talking about replacing him.
Right.
And that was very telling for me. The other thing I noticed was that Donald Trump really behaved himself. He handled himself extremely well in the face of the deck being stacked against him. Mute the mics. That's not a debate. That's an interrogation. A debate is where you talk over each other. Yes, but and you get in little zingers and digs and etc. And then to have no audience, this is all about addressing the public.
Right.
So everything was stacked against Trump. And finally, the one thing that really got me, when you look at it again, take a look. There is a section fairly early on where they're talking about tax cuts and the national debt. And Biden goes into a major senior moment. He looks down, he goes blank. It's very clear he doesn't remember what they're talking about. Does he even remember who he is and where he is?
And this is something we've seen a lot of recently.
And CNN cut the ruddy shot and went to another set and started talking about abortion. I mean, that is really puerile journalism.
Yeah. Absolutely right. Well, let's have a look at a couple of the clips that we're going to describe to you. This is the short one where he tries to talk about Medicare. I'm not quite sure what he's even trying to say.
Yeah.
Making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. Excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare.
I mean, the look on Trump's face is a picture, isn't it? And there is a perfect example of Joe Biden. He starts a sentence, he loses track of it in the middle, he kind of doesn't say anything for a couple of seconds, and then he's kind of rescued by CNN, who say, thank you, Mr. President, as if he's at the end of the statement. But I don't know what he said. I really don't.
It's so one-sided. What kind of broadcasting is this? I mean, in that other senior moment where he had a little bit of a save, but in that other one where he was gone, he was lost. You had 100 million people waiting to see how he recovered, if he recovered, and they denied us doing that. So I think it's really quite pathetic, and I'm going to make a prediction. For some reason, it didn't make its way over here. But, Mike, on all the stations I broadcast on in America, there was a rumor getting stronger and stronger that on June the 13th, Biden was going to stand on for health reasons to be replaced by Gavin Newsom, the left-wing man who has destroyed California almost as well as Biden destroyed America. Super gobby, but very slick. Didn't happen. I predict that in the next few weeks that will now happen.
Well, I've heard a similar story that it will happen at the convention, which I believe is in July.
Before then. Do you think they can stand him up at the convention like that?
Well, I didn't think if they were going to put him up for the debate that they would do so if they weren't confident that he could carry it off, you know, because he did the State of Union address and everybody said, oh, actually, he seemed to be quite together.
He did.
Everybody thought, well, maybe they've given him something. Maybe he's on some kind of medication. I know they were talking about drug testing before this debate. Donald Trump wanted a drug test to be done. Biden's people said no. But whatever they gave him for this debate, it didn't work, because let's have a look at yet another conversation they had about border control.
total ban on the total initiative relative to what we can do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, we had the safest border in the history of our country. The border, all he had to do was leave it.
Interestingly enough, also, there was an intervention, wasn't there, from the Border Patrol Union, because at some point or other, Biden said, I'm endorsed by the Border Patrol Union, they like what I'm doing, they endorse my ideas, and they actually issued a statement during the debate to say that's not true. We don't endorse Joe Biden, we don't endorse his ideas, we don't endorse his policies, and we never will.
Absolutely right. Well, when you watch the whole debate, you'll see exactly the same thing happened re the American military and American police forces. And on both occasions, Trump had to say, no, they all backed me.
Right. Exactly right. So, incredible. So let's have a look at what Jill Biden thought, because she was obviously watching something completely different.
Oh, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts. And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do? Why?
People say, of course, that the reason he's still in the White House is because Jill Biden doesn't want to leave, and that she'd quite like another term, never mind him. But, I mean, people have been describing that moment, because we played it a couple of times this morning, as looking like a sort of a school teacher or a mother, young mother, talking to a 5-year-old who's just managed to, you know, go to the toilet for the first time.
At the Christmas play, absolutely. Yeah. It's not so much Jill Biden, as I've been saying for years. This has been Obama's third, and now he wants a 4th term. I mean, this is Obama pulling the strings. He's pulling the levers inside old Sleepy Joe.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't give up now and admit defeat, I think they're going to have a real train wreck. Yeah. But they made a big thing out of Melania not being visible, and Jill was there. They tried to use that against him. I think overall, with the deck stacked against him, and with a channel such as CNN and, you know, muted mics, no audience, blah, 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 interrogation rather than debate, all these things, I think Trump held up reasonably well. I've spoken to some people very close to him who said that they grilled him for a long time, telling him how to behave himself, and I think he did extremely well.
Well, I think CNN and the New York Times have come out and said that Trump won the debate. So, I mean, if they're saying it, he really must have done.
Absolutely.
And I think, again, watching his expression as Biden is kind of tripping himself up constantly, his strategy actually was quite good, because he doesn't look as if he's trying to bully a guy who's not in control. And he looks as if he's just kind of looking at him rather querulously, as if to go, what are you going on about?
He had so many expensive, not cheap shots that he could have taken, which he didn't take.
Right.
And you got to feel sorry for the guy. What if it was your grandfather? You know?
Well, this is what I said. I mean, I had this woman called Kelly Hyman on earlier. I don't know if you've ever come across a Democratic strategist, apparently, who got very upset with me because I was asking her questions and interrupting her, and apparently I was antagonistic towards her.
Really?
But she said, oh, yes, it was a bit of a disappointing night, but, you know, there's only 2 choices here. There's only one choice you can make, because it's either, you know, Joe Biden, the great man, or, you know, Donald Trump, the evil, ghastly, liar. And, you know, they went and I said, even the New York Times and CNN and many Democrats in America, because I know plenty of them, are saying, we can't put Biden up against Trump, he's going to lose.
If you talk to them, they won't give it up, Mike, because they've got nothing else to hold on to.
Right.
They've been riding with this poor, infirm fellow for so long, hoping that this would stop or not get worse, and it is just getting worse.
And I said to her, if it was your father, what would you do?
Yeah.
You know, would you let him make a fool of himself like that? Would you let him stand and run for a job that he's clearly not capable of doing now, never mind in 4 years' time?
So you think it'll be Newsom pretty soon as well?
I think so. I don't see anybody else. I mean, I've heard the governor of Michigan, I think, has been named in the past, hasn't she? She's a woman, whose name I always forget. But Newsom seems to be the name that keeps coming up.
I also expected Trump...
But is he polling well against Trump? I don't know.
Okay, so they are announcing all of the channels that were on that I could see last night, all of them, and it was only Talk and maybe Sky News Australia and maybe one other one that had a sensible, factual, truthful approach.
Right.
All of the others were saying they're neck and neck, they're neck and neck. Well, they're not neck and neck. 48 to 44, they were saying, that's not neck and neck.
Right.
But I've got to tell you something. I always go by one source. I go by our bookies.
Yeah.
The British bookies. The British bookies are the best in the world. They've been around for hundreds of years. They wouldn't be here if they were wrong too often. Football, maybe a little bit, you know, but they're usually pretty right. Now, the bookies' odds this morning are Trump Trump 3. Let me just double check. I'm sorry. I think it's
okay.
3. Trump is 8-11.
Right.
Now, as you know, that's called odds on.
That's short odds.
That's where you get short odds.
Yeah.
You get less money than you bet. So you bet 11 pounds, you get 8, you get 19 back. You get 8. Okay, that means you're really, really the favorite.
Yeah.
Joe Biden's odds are 33-11. So that is more than 4 times.
Yeah.
8-11 versus 33-11, more than 4 times less of a chance Biden has. That's what Odds Checker, which takes all the British bookies together and comes with one thing. That's right now real-time odds, and I go with that.
I think that's probably sensible. Roger, good to talk to you. Thank you very much
You
indeed.
too.
Dr. Roger Gewoldt, fascinating man, and we'll be talking to you some more, I'm sure, as we get closer and closer to the time. I wonder what the odds will be on Biden dropping out, because that would be a good bet to make as well.
They haven't set them yet. I was looking, but I'll let you know.
Well, I bet they'll be setting them today after that performance.
I bet they'll be odds on.
Exactly.